Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dear students. Welcome to another tutorial on Adobe Premiere Pro CC. In this tutorial, we're going to show you how to create animations in Adobe Premiere Pro, or as your book lesson name it, putting clips in motion. So before we start, you should know that Premiere is basically dedicated for video editing and not for animation, but even though, especially in the new versions of Adobe Premiere Pro, you can create complex animation and motion graphics templates even in Adobe Premiere. Not something like After Effects, but anyway, you can create nice animations in Premiere. You don't need to go learn Adobe After Effects if you don't know it in order to create animations. Of course, not every animation can be created in Premiere, so I'm gonna start a new project. I'm not gonna open any project which is available because I'm gonna just demonstrate the idea. You can go back always to your textbook, Adobe Premiere Pro CC classroom in a book, and then you practice all the lessons available there. So I'm gonna name it animation, and you're gonna save it. It's animation, and you can save it anywhere. I'm gonna just save it in my lessons, but here I'm gonna not in a folder. I'm gonna just select this folder. That's it. Sorry for that, because this is the name. Okay, and to start doing anything, you need to create a sequence. So I'm gonna start with a sequence, and I'm gonna go for the for a normal HD. Sorry, I'm gonna go for this, not this one. I'm gonna go for the HD, the 1920 by 1080, which is this resolution. It's not necessarily this resolution, but this is what I'm gonna be working with, and you can name the sequence if you want. So I'm gonna name it animation. Again, okay. I'm in the editing mode. I'm gonna restart it. As I always tell you, you have to work with an interface that makes you comfortable, whatever suits your needs. So basically, I'm gonna import two clips or two media files. One is an image, and the other one is an animation. And I'm gonna use a media that I already have or created before in other projects. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna just go and select large icons. I'm gonna pick any one of those. For example, let's just select something related to media, basically, because we are talking about media, and I'm gonna just select this graphics designer. I'm gonna select this image here, double click, okay, and I'm gonna add it to my sequence. As you can see, this is the media, or this is the clip that I have. When you add it here, it's gonna be called a clip. Now, how can we add animation? Or basically, before we start, how can we add animation? I'm not going to define animation in details and tell you, because I'm going to assume that you have a background in how to create an animation, basically. But let me show you how animation is created in computer. So basically, I'm going to use Paint to do that. So to create animation, you have to use the concept of this. Click, keyframes, and frames. So as you see, that the main difference between them, it's very clear, which is this word here. Okay, this is the keyframe. So the keyframe is going to be the location, the location where you create your main change, and then to create an animation, you have to have another keyframe in another time with different property. So for example, if x here is 2, x here is going to be, for example, 200, it means that this circle is going to move from 2 to 200 a long time. You should have a duration. So let's say if we are going to use the time code that we already did, 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, frame number 10, and I'm going to move the duration is going to be now 0 hours, 0 minutes, or 0 hours, 0 minutes, yes, and then second number 2 and frame number 10. Now I guess you notice that we are going to move from frame number 10 sorry about that, to frame or to second 210. So this is going to be 2 seconds long. Okay, this is going to be 2 seconds long. So basically what we're going to do in Premiere, we're going to create keyframes only. What about the frames? The frames are here. The frames are created automatically by the application using a method called tweening. Okay, and we might talk about animation itself in a different tutorial about animation in any other application, because you know this concept is general. The same concept applies to animation you create in After Effects or Adobe Animate, or even 3D applications like Maya and 3ds Max and so on. Okay, so I'll get back to Premiere. I close this. So as you remember this, you are going to create keyframes. In order to create a keyframe, you have to change a property over time. Okay, so from where we access the properties, I'm going to click the clip and I'm going to go to Effects Control here. As you can see here we are going to create our animations. So first of all, when you click the motion here, you're going to have a bounding box surrounding your clip, so you can move it, you can scale it, you can do whatever you want with it, rotate it, anything you want to do with it. I'm going to undo these things right now. Okay, notice here, students, when you have this stopwatch or toggle animation icon here in Premiere, if it is turned off, you cannot create animation. If you want to start creating animation, you need to turn it on. Okay, but remember, when you turn it on, it's just like a recorder. It's gonna record all your edits that you do to the clip, of course, over time. So first thing you need to notice that when I clicked the stopwatch, a keyframe is created here, and the keyframe is a diamond shape. Okay, sorry. Now if you do any change over time, what do I mean over time? And you need to move your playhead. Okay, if you move it and do any change to this, for example, you change the position, X and Y, the scale, the rotation, anything, okay, you see you're gonna have a keyframe here. Okay, but you notice that I changed all these keyframes. If you change a keyframe while the stopwatch is turned off, it's not toggled on, nothing is going to be recorded. So you recorded only, the application recorded only the changes you did to the position, because this stopwatch is blue, which means it's toggled on. Now when you go back to the beginning, you see you have this simple animation. Now if you want to remove your keyframes, you can select a keyframe, or you can window select multi keyframes or multiple keyframes, or you can easily turn off the stopwatch or the animation toggle icon. But remember that when you do this, you see the warning, this action will delete existing keyframes. You're gonna lose all your keyframes. Okay, so be careful before turning this off, because I noticed and from my experience, some students, if accidentally they just delete this, and you know, many students, they don't read these, they just click OK, so they are gonna get, or they are gonna lose all the animation that they created, and they're gonna suffer, especially if they have exam or short notes and assignment, or an assignment that they are late to submit, they are gonna submit it quickly. It's gonna be a problem, even especially if the animation is a little bit complex. So I'm gonna just return this to standard. You can reset this by default. By the way, you can click this icon to reset everything to its default state. Anyway, so far we learned that the animation is going to be created using the effects control panel, not the effects panel, effects controls panel. We're going to change the properties under the motion group, which is position, scale, rotation, anchor point, and flicker. Okay, the opacity, as you can see, by default it is toggled on, so when you change the opacity by default, it's going to be animated. I'm going to press backslash to auto fit. Okay, of course you can apply animation to speed, which is again by default toggled on. If you remember the lesson that when we spoke about changing the clip duration, this is the timing mapping techniques. Okay, or technique. So I'm gonna start by creating a simple animation right now. I will go to the motion, or no need, I'm not gonna move it from here. I'm gonna just make it a little bit smaller, and I'm gonna create an animation. Anyway, let's just move it if we want. Just put it here, it's easier for us. Okay, and then you can come up and change these values to make them uh, let's say easy numbers that are easy to remember. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I will animate a long position only. I'm gonna use the position property. I'm gonna click here. As you can see, when you click the position toggle animation, a keyframe is gonna be created. Now you might ask, do we need to create the animation always starting from 0, 0, 0? No, it's not necessarily that. You can move to any time and then you toggle the animation, and then your animation is gonna start from here. Okay, but for now we want it to start from 0, so I'm gonna toggle this, and I'm gonna use that, and after 1 second, which is 100, I'm gonna move my X, I'm gonna move my X to 1600. Okay, like that. And another keyframe I'm gonna create over time. After 2 seconds, I'm gonna just move my Y to 860. Okay, instead of 160, or instead of 60. And then after 3 seconds, I'm going back to 160, and after 4 seconds, not 40, 4 seconds, I'm going back to my original location, which is 160, 60. It was not 160, 60. If you want to remember that, you just need to go back. It is 160. It was 160, 160. So I'm gonna go back to, after 4 seconds, to 160. Okay, now if you play the animation, let me go back. You see, one. Now I guess you noticed something. The animation is not moving along a straight line. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a few seconds, but because this is called an animation interpolation. Okay, we're going to change it in a minute. Actually, you can just let me change it so you just see it. Spatial interpolation. I'm going to tell you what does this mean. Okay, you see now we have this animation. So 1 second, and then 1 second, and then 1 second, and then the other second. Okay, but then you might say, if I don't remember the values, how can I be sure that I'm gonna go back to the original location? Anyway, you can copy paste keyframes just like copy pasting anything else. So for example, I'm gonna select this keyframe, I'm gonna copy it, and I'm gonna go back to 400, and then I'm gonna paste the keyframe. I'm gonna select the position, I'm gonna paste. I have to select the position first. See? Okay, and that's it. This is your animation. Again, if you want to paste, you need to select the property that you are going to paste, and then you move your timeline along it. Sorry, the playhead, or whatever you call this. So play. As you can see, this is a simple animation. Now the question is, can I scale the clip with its moving along the path? Yeah, you should. For this path is automatically created. We're going to tell you how important, or how this path is going to be beneficial for you. But now let's just create a scale animation, and as I told you, you don't need to start from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the scale from, let's say, here. Okay, I'm going to turn on the clock, and after some time I'm going to increase the size. Okay, and I'm gonna paste it to the normal state. I want to show you how to copy paste. Basically, it's easy to return to the original value because it's 100%. I'm gonna press scale and then Control V. You see, it returns to 100%. So now let's play it. It scales up, and then it scales down again. Okay, so I guess you got the idea. You can apply rotation only. Also, you can apply anything else. What about the anchor point? The anchor point is this point, basically the point that specifies how the object is going to be rotated. You see, if the anchor point is here, the rotation is going to be around the center. But if the anchor point is on the edge, the rotation is going to be around the anchor point, not around the center. Okay, so you change the anchor point. Of course, you can animate the anchor point if you want. Okay, I'm gonna go back to 250 again because this was the value, or you can just reset this. Okay, so I guess this is how to create animation in Premiere. I think it's easy and simple. Okay, but you need to practice it because everything it needs practice. What else we need to know about animation? Something very important. It's called keyframe interpolation. Okay, so I'm gonna just undo this. I'm gonna basically turn off the animation. I'm gonna create another animation, but for now let me just create two clips, and I'm gonna move one of them here. Okay, I'm gonna make the first one, I'm gonna make it 200, and the second one it's gonna be around 800. Okay, so I'm gonna animate them both, and I'm gonna show you the difference between the interpolation keyframes based on the animation that I'm gonna create on them. So it's gonna be very simple animation. Let me turn off the scale on both of them. No need to animate the scale. I'm gonna select this. You can change the color to something else like blue. We just need to differentiate them. So in this case I'm gonna say I'm gonna animate the blue one, turn on the position animation again, and after some time, let's say 4 seconds, I'm gonna do what? I'm gonna just move it to the edge to 1700. Okay, now I just need to change them like this, just so they are gonna follow what's here. So you see the blue is down, the pink is up. So I'm gonna click the pink. I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay, so I made a mistake. I toggled the animation while I'm at 4. I need to go back here and then toggle the animation and then go back to 4 seconds, and you see I'm using the keyboard to be precise, and I'm gonna go to 100 or 1700. So they are both same. So now I'm gonna go to the pink and select the motion in order to view the path. As I said, there is something very important you need to learn, which is called animation or keyframe interpolation, which means how the keyframe is going to be interpolated by the software, the animation software. And again, this concept can apply or applies to all animation applications or software. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to change the interpolation. As you can see with position, we have two types of interpolation: temporal interpolation and spatial interpolation. What is the difference between them? Temporal, T, so you remember it easily. Temporal, it's going to be related to time, okay, or in other words to the animation speed. So temporal, time. Spatial, S, shape, so it's going to be related to the shape of the animation path. It's going to be linear, it's going to be curved, or so on. So by default it's auto bezier. You have bezier, auto bezier, continuous bezier, and linear. So linear, it's gonna, you see, without handles. So when you move it, you see it's gonna be without handles like this. But if it's bezier, you have handles, so you can do what? You can play around with it to create a curved shape. So I'm gonna undo. So I will change my keyframes to make this animation. And now let me show you the difference. You see, now this animation is created along, or is moving along a curved path. I didn't create extra keyframe. This is the beauty of this technique. I just did what? Change the interpolation or the keyframe interpolation to make it curved. As you can see here, of course you can make it 50%, sorry, 50%, 10%, so you can see this. clearly. Okay, as I said, animation is not really meant to create animations, but it is very useful. Okay, now I will go back. Let me just make it fit here, and then you see I'm gonna create this animation with only 2 keyframes. I didn't create extra keyframes to create this animation. Okay, so the difference between Bezier, auto Bezier, and linear and continuous Bezier. Auto Bezier is gonna automatically set the curveness or the curvature, of your points, or you can call it as other application vertices or control vertices or control points, while the other one, let me click and show you the auto Bezier. This is the auto. Okay, when you say let me create a keyframe in the middle, so you see the difference better, because I'm gonna have 2 sides. I'm gonna just create a keyframe by clicking here, and this is if you want to create a keyframe manually. Okay, so you see it's gonna be like this. Now I change the position a little bit, so let me zoom in, okay, to show you now. Now if I click linear, I'm gonna demonstrate all of them. Linear is gonna be linear. You might say, what about the rest? Okay, but this curvature is not from this. It is not from this. It is from. Sorry, I was. Oh, my mistake. It is here, linear. It's not temporal. I was trying to change it to linear, and then change the temporal interpolation. So how I realized that I might have something wrong, because the handles didn't go away. When with linear, the handles should go away. You see, with linear you have no handles. With linear here, you have no handles. Don't move the shape. If you move it, you're going to create another keyframe. And you see here, they are very close. You might not see them if you don't zoom in. So I'm going to undo. Yes, now I don't have another keyframe. So be careful. So now what if I change it to Bezier? You see, Bezier, we're going to have handles, and I can move each handle independently from each other. So this is the Bezier. Okay, you move each handle from each side independently from each other. Okay, the other one is going to be auto Bezier. Okay, you see, it is automatically set by the software. This is why you don't see the handles. You can change it if you want, but when you change it, it's not going to be auto Bezier anymore. We're going to show you now. And the other one, or the fourth one, or the last one, is going to be the continuous. Continuous means when you move any handle, the other side will move with it. Okay, they're going to be linked together. So now let me show you what if I have an auto Bezier and I change it. When I change it, you see, at the beginning you don't see handles because it's auto by the software, but you can change it. It's going to turn into a continuous Bezier directly. You see, it's continuous Bezier. So this is the spatial interpolation. Basically, it is used to control the shape of your animation path, more or less. Okay. So again, spatial interpolation is not available with other properties like scale and rotation, and we are going to demonstrate. We're going to show you, because there is no shape when you change the scale. There is no animation shape. There is no animation path, as well as rotation. So with scale rotation, you're gonna have only a temporal interpolation. Now I'm gonna just return to linear, just to make it like this. I'm gonna just delete this, and I'm gonna go here and make this 200. Okay, so we are gonna have a straight line. I'm gonna go here again, and I'm gonna change the interpolation to linear. We're gonna make them identical, and then we are gonna demonstrate the use of temporal interpolation. Okay, play. So now let me go to the pink. What I'm gonna do is sorry, I had moved it by mistake. I'm gonna Windows select them, right click, temporal interpolation. With temporal interpolation, you see you have linear, Bezier, auto Bezier, continuous, and another one called hold. We're going to demonstrate all of them, inshallah, and then ease in, ease out. So first of all, I'm gonna just set it to auto Bezier. Okay, so now you see the shapes or the shape of the keyframes are changed. They are not rectangle diamonds anymore. They are circles. So what? What's the difference? Let us play and see. Okay, very few, or maybe you don't have, or there is no difference so far. Almost there is no difference. Almost, yeah, there is no, because I need it's a little bit different from each other. I'm gonna just increase the effect so you see it better. But now when you click the motion, I guess let me just increase this a little bit so you see it better. You see these dots are evenly spaced, which means continuous speed. But what about these dots? Click here. As you can see, they are also evenly. This is why I told you almost there is no difference between them with the auto bezier. Let's try something that, anyway, when we say auto bezier, if you click this, you see here these points can be selected and the curve can be changed. Anyway, since we got this, we got here, let us show you. I can change the curve, you see, and I can change this curve as well. So now there is a difference. You see the distances are widely, or there is a wide space between them. They are not close to each other like this. When they are far away, it means they're going to be fast. When they are distant or close to each other, they're going to be slow. So now let's play it and see. It's going to be fast, and then it's going to be slow down, and then it's going to be fast. You see the change here? It quickly changes, then it's almost settled in its location, and then it's get faster again. Let's play. You see? It's stopped and it moved again. Eventually they are going to end on the same at the same point. Anyway, if you don't want it to stop, you don't need to create you need to make this a little bit less. Okay, you can change it to make it a little bit less, so it's going to be slow. You lessen the effect. You see here, it's not going to stop, it's going to keep moving slowly, and then they're going to reach the point together. So now when I changed it, you see it's not circle anymore, which means the type changed. So right click, temporal, it's continuous. Again, auto, the program is going to set it just like with a spatial, but when you change it, it's going to be auto bezier. Of course you can go, sorry, continuous bezier. Of course you can select bezier, and then you have two handles, you can change them separately. If you change bezier here, you're not going to see the difference or the effect because you don't have other side, so the animation ends here. Okay, usually in many cases you're not going to go this deep with animation unless you have certain things in your mind, but in general we are going to just slow out, slow in. So we accelerate, in other words, and decelerate our keyframe. So how we are going to do this, I'm going to right click temporal interpolation and say ease out. It's going to easily gets out the keyframe, and at the end I'm gonna ease in, which means easily gets into the keyframe. As you see, the speed will build gradually, and then the speed will drop gradually a long time. So let me just reset the save layout. So now we are gonna see the difference. You see here now the difference is not that much like we did it, okay, but the spaces here are not like here, so it's gonna start slow. Let's go to the middle here. You see it is close. They are dense here, or close to each other. They're gonna start a little bit slow, and then they're gonna build speed, and then they're gonna lose speed over time. So this is the ease in, ease out. So ease out. Okay, click, and then they're gonna move together, and then they're gonna reach the end almost at the same time. Okay, maybe this is gonna win, but eventually they're gonna stop at the end, both together. So this was the keyframe interpolation. Don't forget, we have spatial and we have temporal. Temporal controls time, which means the speed of the animation. Spatial controls shape, which is mainly available with position. So now let's see, what if we have a scale? Are we gonna have them, or as I said, you're gonna have only temporal? We have to try it. Basically, I'm gonna change the scale of this shape. I'm gonna click, and then I'm gonna move it while holding shift to snap to it, and then I'm gonna increase the shape. Sorry, increase the scale, not the shape. You see here the scale. Now if I right click any scale keyframe, you see there is no spatial and temporal. It's just what? Linear, Bezier, just temporal. If you don't have two groups, it means temporal. How do I know this? You have hold and you have ease in, ease out. With a spatial, there is no ease in, ease out, and there is no hold keyframe. Okay, so now there is one more keyframe to go. We are going to discuss, which is the hold keyframe. What hold means? Let us see. I'm gonna turn off the scale. Let me go back to the beginning. I'm gonna turn off the scale and I'm gonna apply it this time to this blue clip here. I'm gonna change this to hold, temporal hold. You see now it has changed, the shape is changed. So what this does? Play? Oh, nothing. For sure it's not, it is nothing. As you know my style, sometimes many times I don't do it correctly. Why? So you see the difference between correctly doing it and wrongly doing it. So the hold is gonna hold the keyframe in its position until you reach the next keyframe. So this is why it didn't work, because there is no next keyframe. So you're gonna ask, what should I do? You need to change this to hold. In this case, you are gonna hold position until you reach here, and when you reach here, it directly changes position. You see? I'm gonna play. It didn't change. It's holding, 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 and then it directly moves. But you might say, but this is not an animation. I just directly jumping from one point to another. Yeah, this is very useful in many cases, basically. Okay, to hold a keyframe until next time or whatever. Okay. Anyway, you use the keyframe or you change the keyframe type as you need. There is no good and bad about them. There is no wrong and right in most cases. It depends on your scenario. You have to specify the scenario and then you say, okay, it's right and wrong. For example, for the constant speed, I'm gonna undo this. For the constant speed, okay, the speed for the clip above, it is more realistic than the below. But even though, if you want to create a mechanical animation like a clock arms, the minutes, hours, arms, you cannot speed them up, you cannot accelerate, deaccelerate their animation because it's mechanical animation. So it should be, or it must be a constant speed. So you're gonna use a linear keyframe. However, if you want to create a realistic animation like car moving or a character start to run or something else, you need to ease out, ease in, to use, let's say, non-linear keyframes, let's say. So as you can see here, this is more realistic, but this is useful for mechanical animations. I hope you got the idea and you understand the concept. Again, you can try it to other properties. Okay, and as we learn effects and we are going to apply it to effects, we are going to animate our effects, because remember, any property, whether it's fixed effect or effects like position, scale, and so on, or effects that you are going to add, if the property has this stopwatch or clock or toggle animation in Premiere, you're going to be able to create animation for it. Okay, so thank you very much. We're going to see you in next tutorials about animation.